In December 2019, the music world was suddenly shaken by news that felt impossible to believe. One of the biggest, most influential rising stars in hip-hop had died at only 21 years old. The artist was Juice WRLD. Fans around the world were completely devastated. For millions of teenagers and young adults, his music wasn't just entertainment, it was a lifeline. His songs had helped them navigate heartbreak, crippling loneliness, and deep personal struggles. But in the days and weeks that followed his sudden death, something strange and chilling began to spread across the internet. Fans started listening carefully to his lyrics again. They started dissecting his interviews and freestyles, and many of them noticed something terrifying in several of his most popular songs. Juice WRLD had talked obsessively about dying young. He had mentioned the exact scenarios, the drugs, the pain, and the feeling of losing total control. Some fans even believed that certain lyrics sounded less like artistic expression and more like literal predictions of what would eventually happen. It raised a haunting question that still echoes through the internet today. Did Juice WRLD somehow predict his own tragic fate? To understand why millions of people ask this question, you have to go back to the very beginning of his story. Before the fame, before the sold-out arenas, before the global phenomenon, Juice WRLD was born Jared Anthony Higgins in Chicago, Illinois. Growing up in the south suburbs, music played a massive, inescapable role in his life. His mother was deeply religious and actually banned him from listening to hip-hop early on. So, Jared found other ways to feed his obsession with sound. He listened to rock bands, punk music, and emotional alternative singers like Blink-182, Fall Out Boy, and Billy Idol. He didn't just listen, he absorbed it. As a kid, he learned to play the piano, the guitar, and the trumpet. He understood the mechanics of melody long before he ever stepped into a recording booth. As a teenager in high school, Jared began experimenting with hip-hop. He started freestyling with his friends, recording tracks on his phone, and uploading them to the internet under the name Juice WRLD. Like many artists of his generation, he turned to SoundCloud to share his voice with the world. He adopted the 999 moniker, which he explained was an inversion of 666, taking whatever bad, negative energy you have, and flipping it to make something positive. At first, his audience was small, but his style was drastically different from almost everyone else in the Chicago rap scene. Instead of focusing on traditional street rap or drill music, Juice WRLD ripped his heart open on a microphone. He spoke openly about severe anxiety, depression, and heartbreak. It was honest. It was entirely raw, and for a generation growing up on the internet, dealing with their own silent battles, it felt incredibly real. Everything changed in late 2017 and early 2018. Teaming up with a young, internet-savvy producer named Myra, Juice recorded a track that would alter the trajectory of his life forever. The song was called Lucid Dreams. The track heavily sampled Sting's 1993 song Shape of My Heart, layering a heavy trap beat over the melancholic acoustic guitar. It told the vivid story of mental anguish and emotional paralysis after a failed relationship. But it wasn't just the relatable lyrics that captured people's attention. It was the undeniable melody. The pain in his voice felt so genuine that it physically hurt to listen to. Shortly after, he connected with Cole Bennett, the visionary director behind the Lyrical Lemonade YouTube channel, to shoot the music video. When that video dropped, the internet completely shattered within months. Lucid Dreams exploded across every streaming platform on Earth. It climbed straight up the Billboard charts, peaking at number 2. The music video gained hundreds of millions of views almost overnight. Suddenly, Juice WRLD was no longer a SoundCloud secret. He was the most talked about new artist in the world, but what made him stand out even more to the music industry wasn't just his hit single. It was his terrifying, almost supernatural creative ability. Juice WRLD possessed a talent for freestyling that veteran rappers could only dream of. In interviews, on radio shows, and in the studio, he would casually freestyle for an hour straight without ever taking a breath or losing the pocket of the beat. During a famous appearance on Tim Westwood TV, he freestyled over Eminem beats for over an hour, proving to the old heads that he was a true lyricist, not just a viral pop star. He didn't write his lyrics down. He would step into a recording booth, hear a beat for the first time, and create entire hit songs, complete with complex harmonies and verses. In 10 minutes. It made him an unstoppable creative force. He was reportedly recording up to 5 or 10 complete songs in a single day. Soon, his debut studio album, Goodbye and Good Riddance, was released. It became a massive, culture-shifting success. The project connected deeply with young listeners, officially making Juice WRLD the voice of a generation dealing with complicated, messy feelings. But as his fame grew at an uncontrollable speed, so did the concerns about the darker themes haunting his music. Almost all of his songs talked openly about substance abuse. He wasn't rapping about drugs to sound cool or wealthy. He was rapping about them as a desperate coping mechanism to numb his emotional pain. Some listeners felt that his lyrics were a cry for help, and over time, fans began noticing specific, chilling lines that sounded eerily prophetic. The most famous example came in the summer of 2018, shortly after the tragic deaths of fellow artists XXXTentacion and Lil Peep. Juice WRLD released a tribute EP, featuring a song called Legends. In the song, Juice WRLD delivers a line that still sends shivers down the spines of hip-hop fans. What's the 27 Club? We ain't making it past 21. He was referencing the infamous 27 Club of musicians like Kurt Cobain, Amy Winehouse, and Jimi Hendrix, who all died at 27. But Juice was saying his generation was dying even faster. At the time, listeners simply saw these lines as artistic expression and grief. But after his death, those same lyrics took on a terrifying, heavy meaning. People began flooding YouTube and TikTok with clips analyzing his lyrics. Fans debated whether he had somehow tapped into a dark premonition of his own life. The truth behind Juice WRLD's music, however, was tragically grounded in reality. His rapid rise to fame brought an enormous, crushing amount of pressure. He went from a high school kid to a multimillionaire, carrying the expectations of a massive label and millions of fans in less than 2 years. He was touring the world constantly. The music industry demanded non-stop output, and the chaotic lifestyle surrounding hip-hop superstardom only fueled the addictions he was already battling, despite the intense personal challenges. Juice WRLD continued to dominate. In early 2019, he dropped his second major studio album, Death Race for Love. The album debuted at #1 on the Billboard 100. It proved once and for all that Juice WRLD wasn't just a viral moment. He was a permanent fixture at the top of the music world, but behind the scenes, his physical toll was reaching a breaking point. Then came the day that would shatter the music industry. On December 8, 2019, exactly 6 days after his 21st birthday, Juice WRLD arrived at Chicago's Midway International Airport on a private jet. Reports later revealed that law enforcement was waiting at the hangar to search the plane. Shortly after landing, as federal agents began searching the luggage, Jared experienced a severe medical emergency. Emergency responders rushed to help him, administering Narcan in a desperate attempt to save his life. He was rushed to a nearby hospital, but despite their frantic efforts, Juice WRLD passed away shortly afterward. He was exactly 21 years old, just like he had predicted in the song Legends. The news spread across the internet within minutes. The world stood completely stunned. For millions of people, it felt physically impossible. Just months earlier, he had been performing in front of massive festival crowds, flashing his signature 999 smile. Now, suddenly, the voice of their generation was silenced forever. Artists from every corner of the music industry, from Drake to Travis Scott to pop stars like Halsey, paid emotional tributes to him. But as people processed the shock of the tragedy, they returned to his lyrics once again, and those haunting lines about pain, struggling with addiction, and dying young suddenly echoed with a devastating clarity for some fans. The coincidence is simply too perfect to ignore. They believe Juice WRLD left behind clues inside his music, fully aware of his destiny. Others believe his lyrics weren't supernatural predictions, but simply honest, tragic reflections of a battle he knew he was losing. Regardless of how you interpret the mystery, one thing remains absolutely undeniable. Juice WRLD created music that connected with the human soul on a profoundly deep level. His willingness to be entirely vulnerable about his pain made millions of kids feel understood for the first time in their lives. And that connection is the reason his legacy is stronger today than ever before. Even after his passing, his music continues to break records. Posthumous albums like Legends Never Die became massive global successes, showing the world that the 999 movement will never fade. Today, his influence can be heard in almost every new melodic rap artist on the charts. He changed the sound of hip-hop forever. His story continues to spark vital conversations about mental health, the dangers of addiction, and the extreme pressures young artists face when thrown into the spotlight. The mystery surrounding his lyrics will always be a part of his legend. The internet will never stop debating whether Jared Higgins knew his time was running out, but beyond the theories and the clickbait, the true impact of Juice WRLD's life cannot be measured by how it ended, but by what he left behind. In just 3 short years, he created a catalogue of music that will live forever. Songs that help the lonely feel less alone. Songs that put words to the emotions we all struggle to describe. His life ended tragically fast, but his voice still echoes loud and clear, because sometimes the artists who burn the brightest are the ones who change the world before they go. And the immortal legacy of Juice WRLD proves exactly that.